All right, let's get started. This is the inspiration from my sketchbook, just a simple kind of vase with colorful flowers. And we're going to do it today on a simple kind of greeting card format. These are 4x6, 100% cotton watercolor paper cards. And we'll see where it takes us. As you probably know, when you start with inspiration, you never quite finish with the same thing as what you started with. So it will definitely not look exactly the same, but it's just the inspiration. So let's get started. I'm going to use this number 8 pointed brush here, this Van Gogh Royal Talens brush. Oh my goodness, that's a pen. Okay, and I'm gonna get started with this kind of color. I think I'm going to use this kind of dark grayish kind of color, and I'm going to free paint my vase. So you can definitely use a pencil for this and kind of make your line, but I'm feeling like today I want to live dangerously and just kind of freehand it. So there we go. So I'm gonna go like this and make kind of a curved line with my paintbrush, and then I'm gonna create kind of the divot at the top here for my vase. I'm gonna go back in here and do the other side, kind of finish off that rounded shape. It's always the tricky part, isn't it, to make it look sort of symmetrical. I think that's not too bad. And I kind of like that pooling of color at the bottom here, like so. I'm gonna make a bit of a straighter line at the bottom where my vase would kind of be set on my tabletop perhaps. And I think I'm pretty happy with that. I like that there's a little bit of lightness here in the middle. So while that dries, I'm gonna go ahead and I think I'm gonna use, let's see, I think I'm going to use this red color from my set here. They call it coquelicot, so it's this kind of like bright red color. And I'm just going to go ahead and kind of paint some loose flowery shapes. So I'm imagining a couple petals maybe here, a couple petals here. And I'm working kind of quickly because I'm going to drop in some color while this red here is still wet and see what kind of effect I get. So I'm going for some kind of loose flowers, maybe one here, maybe one over here. I think that looks pretty good. They kind of look like flying birds for now, but that's okay. And then what I'll do is I'll go in with some yellow. I have a nice yellow here, kind of a vibrant yellow, and I'll go in with the yellow and pop it in right at the center of those flowers and kind of watch the magic kind of happen as those two colors kind of mix together like so. There we are. It's kind of nice on certain flowers. You see a little bit more of that yellow, and on other ones you see a little bit less of it. There we go. And then now I'm gonna go in with my green, and I think I might actually go for this green here, this is a French palette, so it's called grenouille, which means frog, so I can imagine it to be a pretty vibrant green, and I'm gonna see what that looks like. So I'm gonna go ahead and kind of dip my brush rather, and then have my very first stem. And I kind of like what it does here. It mixes with the color, the red color, and kind of creates that little spot where the stem meets the petal, and I think that actually looks pretty nice. So I'm going to do some stems kind of on their own, like so, and then some flowers kind of attaching themselves to those other stems. I'm imagining that's how my bouquet should look. There we go. That's a bit of a thicker stem, but that's okay. And then I'll go in, I think, and add some leaves. This one might be on the back, like so. I think that looks pretty nice. And then what I'll do is, I guess I didn't really need to put that in my water, but that's okay. I think I'm going to go ahead and add some leaves, and I'm thinking that this plant has some kind of larger leaves like so. So I'm going to do one here, one here, one here. And I was saying this, what I find kind of nice is actually to paint a lot of blooms in the winter time. I know that a lot of times people paint blooms sort of when they're seeing them out in nature, but where I am right now, there's not a single bloom in sight outside anyways, and very little color. So actually going to my studio and adding color myself to what I'm painting is quite lovely, because if you can't find it outside, you might as well create it yourself. There we go. I'm gonna do another leaf kind of going on the front here, and I'm not thinking too much about it except to kind of take a look at the painting and see where maybe some of the negative space could be better utilized. Maybe do a big leaf here pointing upwards, and I think that looks pretty nice. This is what it looks like. What do we think? I think that was pretty easy. So I'm going to put you down here, and I think what we'll do is, why don't we just make a second one with different colors and then see what we do, how we do. So I'm going to leave this one aside, and I'm going to go again just to kind of show you one same idea, how you can take it different ways. And I think what I'll do for this one is I'll do a beigey kind of vase, so it's nice and different. So let's see, maybe this one has a bit of a different shape. Let's see where it takes me. And do a shape kind of like this. Maybe this one has a bit of a dip, like so. I like the color of this one. It kind of looks like a terracotta almost pot, which is kind of nice. There we go. Just finish it on the other side here. All right, I think that looks pretty nice. And then let's see. I think for this one, maybe I'll use this orangey color here. This one here. And I think I might try to do some flowers that are a little bit kind of bigger, like so. There we go. We've had so little sun here. I'm talking to you from Canada. There's been a lot of snow, but there hasn't been much sun. So honestly, putting these beautiful colors on paper is much, much needed. And sometimes that really is what painting is for. Kind of bring you the dream world that you might not currently have. So let's see here. I'll put one here. And then why don't I do one that's slightly less dark, as if it was a little bit more in the distance. So I'm adding a bit more water, making this one just a little bit less dark here, and maybe here too, just to add a little bit of variety in tone. Maybe one here. Oh, I like how that bled in. It's quite pretty. And then I'm gonna go ahead, I think for this one, I'm actually gonna, let's see, I think I'm gonna switch brushes. I'm gonna use this In Trend brush in a size 0. I quite like these brushes. I've been playing around with them. They're very good for detail work, and I do quite like them. So I'm gonna use this color, which is kind of a dark green, and do some thinner stems. So I'm really loading my brush here with color. And then I'm gonna go ahead and just imagine where those stems might kind of live, like so. Maybe this one is in the back here. This one can come out right here. This one can come here. There we go. Maybe add a little bit. I'm sensing that it needs a little bit of green just around the flowers, like so. And if you give me 1 second, I'm finding that I have a little bit too much green on this one flower. So I'm gonna go for my hefty little trick here and use a cotton bud just to soak up a little bit of that excess color. And then I'll just go in with a little bit of my orange over top. Kind of get that back. There we go. That's a nice little trick if you kind of make a line that you wish you hadn't made. Usually works quite well if you do it when the paint is still wet. There we go. Kind of like these two colors together, the kind of deep orange and the dark green. I think that's quite lovely. And then, let's see, I think I'll do a couple little leaves on this one. Maybe some smaller leaves like so. So I'm just kind of pressing my brush and then releasing when I want that tip to form, like so. There we go. And then maybe I'll do a couple branches without flowers. Like maybe there's a branch right here. Just to add a little bit of extra green because I feel like it needs it. Need a bit more water here. I think that looks quite pretty. Let me do one right here. Right one here. And you see I'm only working with a couple colors, but what I am doing is using less water for some iterations and more water for others. So less water when you want kind of a darker hue, a more saturated hue, and then just using a lot more water when you want something kind of a bit more light and airy. There we go. I think I might just add one here. There's always one leaf that wants to be a little wonky, isn't there? I guess it's the same in nature. There we go. And I think, should I do one more here? Let's live dangerously and do one right here, right at the edge. There we go. So this one is a little bit fuller, that's for certain. This is what it looks like. Hasn't dried yet. And I'll show you both of them right next to one another, and you can tell me which one you like the best. So if you want to tell me in the comments, I would love to know which one kind of has your heart of these two iterations of very easy, very simple, very quick flowers and vases. Thank you so much for watching. If you've stayed till here, thank you so much. Please consider subscribing if you've liked these kinds of videos. And if you do make any of these based on the video we watched here today, please, please, please share them with me at KakiAndBloom. I would love to take a look. Okay, I'll see you in the next video.